Hello and welcome to Retech, and today we're going to talk about a machine that I bought off of eBay. I mean, it looks quite nice, okay, but again it's probably another case of buyer beware, because basically this is meant to be a refurbished, rebuilt, recapped, composite modded ZX Spectrum, and I don't normally buy them that way. I kind of like to do it myself. I'd rather buy a machine that's not working and then just put it right. So what I'm going to do is take this machine apart. I've had it for a little while now, and the reason I'm doing this video is because I went online just to have a look around to see what's available, what might be of interest on eBay and other kind of auction sites, and I've kind of seen the prices shoot up dramatically. I mean, not just, you know, a $20 or £20 here, or £30, 40, 50 even, or $60, etc. I've seen them shoot up by, in some cases, hundreds of dollars for retro machines that, you know, only a few months ago you could buy for half the cost. And that includes things like ZX Spectrums. I mean, this one's obviously had some work done to it, but I bought this one possibly 8 months ago, and I haven't really done anything with it. So how genuine people are on eBay is something that you will never know until you receive it. And because of the costing implications of classic and vintage hardware now literally shooting up almost on a daily basis, you'd hope that the sellers were particularly honest. So we're going to have a quick look at this one to find out if kind of this random machine I bought off of eBay is actually genuine, the seller was telling the truth, or should we all be very cautious about what we believe and what we read in these ads? Because it seems to me that there's more collectors about and more people trying to make money off of retro hardware, not just computers and PCs, but cameras and cassette recorders and record players and literally everything that's kind of linked to 80s hardware or 80s, 90s hardware, etc. So let's have a quick look at this and see what it's all about. Okay, so we have the ZX Spectrum here, and it's, first glance, it looks like it has had some work done. It's had a faceplate replaced with a green one, and you know, it looks quite snazzy. It's different. I think that's what drew me to it in the first place anyway, because the faceplate was quite, you know, quite different. It looked kind of a little bit more vibrant in the adverts, and it kind of stood out, which is a great ploy if you're trying to sell something. If you look around it, it's nice and bright on the logo side where it says ZX Spectrum. It's still very white. It doesn't look like it's been retouched, so that looks like it could be original. So the case itself is in fairly good order. Okay, on the back it has its original serial number. It hasn't been an upgrade model. It hasn't got the old 16K sticker on it, but it does have one here, which I think that was the original 48K dot that they used to put on them from the factory, and it looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the machine apart. So while I'm doing it, it shouldn't take too long. There's only a few screws on this. It's the screws haven't, or don't seem to have been over tightened, which is nice. So it's not really going to take me too long at all just to whip them out. So all I'm interested in is what really has been done to this machine. It's meant to have been recapped. It's meant to have had some rework done on it. It's also meant to have had a composite mod, and you know, the advert said fully refurbished, so it would be nice to see at least some signs of that. this screw's not very good, I don't think. It's got some wear to it, so it's slipping on the screwdriver, but that's something that I can deal with a little later. So here we go. Take the lid off very gently, and we're just going to unplug the keyboard. Okay, right, this might be quite an ominous start. Okay, as I said, it might be an ominous start. There's no way that that's new. That's not a refurbished anything. It's actually been cut at the bottom on the edge here because it probably had a problem with cracking across here, so they've cut it and have stuck a little bit of sellotape across it. Yeah, that's a, you know, different for a refurbished machine. It's not something I would have done, but why go to the lengths of putting a brand new faceplate on here? I don't understand that. Maybe it was refurbished and they ran out of money, or maybe it was refurbished and then it couldn't be bothered to finish the job. But anyway, yeah, that's not a refurbished membrane at all. That's going to have to be dealt with. So let's look at the board itself. Okay, so the first thing you notice, it's relatively clean, which is a good start. There's no dust or anything else in there at all. It seems like, yeah, it seems like it has been cleaned inside the case, and yeah, it's relatively okay. It's nice. I mean, even if it said on the advert, you know, I've inspected the board and it's fine, but it could do with a membrane. It wouldn't have put me off of buying it. In fact, you know, I would have rather it been seen to be said that on the advert rather than saying completely refurbished. You know, it's like sticking a wing mirror on a car and saying that the car's been completely rebuilt. That's just not the way, you know, it should have been advertised. But, you know, we'll carry on and have a look at it, okay? So it looks like there hasn't been any real rework on this board at all. So what I'm going to do is, before we do anything, we're going to whip this screw out. We're going to take the board out and have a good look at it. Okay, so first thing is it is kind of stuck. Okay, it's relatively clean still, and as you can probably see from this, there's not been any rework on this board at all. Even closely looking at the board, it's 100% original. See, normally these capacitors here, you would actually see evidence of rework here, but there isn't. And if there was, that little kind of sticker on here would not be in that shape, because it is right around the rework for these capacitors here. So I would say this issue 3B board has not been touched since it left the factory. So up until this point, okay, I'd never powered this machine on, hadn't really messed around with it. I mean, things on auction sites, you have to kind of take it face value. There's always a risk of what you're actually getting isn't exactly what it's described at. Now, I've come to kind of appreciate that and learn that lesson through the hundreds of transactions I've done, or if not thousands, over auction sites. And these kind of retro objects, whether they're cameras or whether they're computers or whether they're video players or VHS or whatever they are, always carry that element of risk, and this is one of them. So if we're going to look at the rest of the board, there's nothing untoward, there's nothing been replaced, and I really think that this was a case of let's see how much money, or let's maximize how much money we can get for a certain item. And that's basically what this was sold at. Now it has got a composite mod on here, so which is here. Okay, you can see there's a little green wire. It's been modified. It's just had the lead cut and the small additional one put through to the modulator, but it's just using a little piece of bridge wire, which it really needs something that's slightly more substantial than that. So yeah, I mean, it's just not good really. It's been a bit of a bodge really, this whole kind of refurbished lock. So I would kind of steer away from things like that unless you're really desperate to have that kind of model or that platform or that retro item that you're really kind of after. And I would also try and get something a little bit more local if possible. So yeah, so this is quite a quick video on the pitfalls of buying something via auction sites, especially these retro products. So that was just a quick look at something that you may buy off of eBay, or you may buy off another auction site, and you may kind of buy off of a friend maybe, or a shop if there's a kind of retro-ish shop that's going around. And it means that you would really need to have your wits about you unless you walk into these things with your eyes open. And by that I mean, don't expect everything to be described as to be the actual truth about the item, because most people who are hobbyists, let's say, they have very different ideas of what refurbishing a machine really means. They've got very different ideas of what a full restoration means, and they may not match up to yours. And in the case of this one, it's about as far away as a re-engineered, refurbished machine that's been recapped and upgraded that you could possibly get. And to me, it's not really a big worry for me, because, you know, I kind of expect it anyway. Everything that I buy off of auction sites and sight unseen from hundreds, if sometimes thousands of miles away, I'm going to take that risk, and that is something I am fairly okay with, really. But something that's kind of like this, where there's been little or no attempt to do any of the work or any of the refurbished or replacement items that are listed, then, you know, really, you have recourse and you can return it and you can complain. So, you know, it's not as if you're kind of stuck with the item, but again, it's time, it's hassle and so on. So if at all possible, find something local that you can go and see, touch, visualize, find out what's been done with it, and then, you know, make your own mind up from there. So yeah, these items, they are getting rare, they are getting harder to obtain, they are getting more difficult to find in working conditions. Sometimes you might want to take the risk if it is a fairly rare item, but things like Commodore 64s and ZX Spectrums, especially in Europe, they're plentiful. You can still get quite a lot of them. So, you know, just take your time, find one that's to the best, or the best one you can find for your budget, and try and stick to that kind of mantra. Unless you're like me and you're not really that bothered, because, you know, you can fix it, or fix most things and get them back up and running. But then again, not everybody wants to do that or has the time to do that. So yeah, so anyway, again, it's caveat emptor, it's buyer beware. So thanks for watching, please subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.